looking to connect a region of over 600 cultural bridges between our lands.
Hello and welcome to ASEAN in Focus. I'm Alma Angeles delivering to you the latest news in and around the ASEAN region on today's headlines. The death toll from Typhoon Fanfon's battering of the Philippines has risen to 28 and will likely climb further according to authorities. Foreign ministers at an Asian-European Political Dialogue, or ASEAN, have emphasized the need to uphold and revitalize multilateralism. The death toll from Typhoon Fanfon's battering of the Philippines has risen to 28 and will likely climb further according to authorities. The storm, with wind gusts of up to 200 kilometers per hour, swept across remote villages and popular tourist destinations in the central Philippines. Authorities on Friday confirmed 28 people had died, up from 16 on Thursday, as information came in from badly hit areas where internet and mobile phone networks had been cut. Among those killed were several members of a family who drowned, a policeman electrocuted by a toppled post while patrolling, and a man struck by a felled coconut tree. The Philippines, whose mostly Catholic family celebrate Christmas, had Fanfon ruin or disrupt their festivities for hundreds and even thousands of people. It also hit Boracay Island, famed for its white sand beaches, which draws more than 1 million tourists a year. Coconut trees were uprooted on Boracay and windows in some resorts were blown in during the storm. And ferry services to and from the island were cut on Wednesday and Thursday. However, no one died on Boracay, and the damage was not on the scale of badly hit coastal towns elsewhere in the central Philippines. Pag-asa said Typhoon Ursula is no longer directly affecting the country. However, the tail end of a cold front will bring moderate to occasional heavy rains over most of Cagayan Valley and Cordillera Administrative Region. This rainfall may trigger flooding and landslides in highly to very highly susceptible areas. The Philippines is the first major land mass facing the Pacific typhoon belt, and it's hit by an average of around 20 storms a year. Fanfon, locally named Ursula, is the 21st cyclone to hit the Philippines this year. In other news, here are the images of an annular eclipse progression as seen from Balut Island, Philippines. Annular eclipses occur when the moon is not close enough to the Earth to completely obscure the sun. Thus, it leaves a thin ring of the solar disk visible. Take a look. Meanwhile, life in Singapore paused early on Thursday afternoon as people across the island went out on the streets to catch a rare annular solar eclipse. The astronomical event occurs when the moon covers the sun's center, leaving a flaming ring at the edges, as we've seen earlier. Again, let's take a look.
First time I actually can view it in Singapore, so quite excited for it. I don't mind even taking a work leave just to go for this. Yeah.
Awesome.
Yes. If you look at the sun, it's always dangerous. As long as you have a solar filter here, yeah. So that will cut out the 99.99% of visible light, and you box out 100% of UV light. So it's 100% safe. Yeah, as long as you attach it securely to the telescope.
It's a good question. You know, it's only 2 minutes, but it's so intense that you talk about it with your friends and family for the next months. Do you remember this very moment? And when you look around here, many people do exactly the same.
As you've seen there, some even came from afar to witness this celestial event. While these types of eclipses occur every year or two, they are only visible from a narrow band of Earth each time, and it can be decades before the same pattern is repeated. Outside the narrow band where the ring of fire effect can be observed, skywatchers would see a partial solar eclipse. The next annular eclipse in June 2020 will be visible to a narrow band from Africa to northern Asia. The following one in June 2021 will only be seen in the Arctic and parts of Canada, Greenland, and the remote Russian Far East. To other news now, the Department of National Defense Secretary Delfin Lorenzana doesn't see any security threat should the Philippines continue with its offer to host Rohingya refugees. Preventing a humanitarian crisis is the goal of the Philippines in declaring its intentions to accept the refugees, according to Lorenzana. Chief Lorenzana said, when one offers his territory to refugees out of humanitarian motive, I believe concern for security is temporarily set aside. President Duterte on Monday reiterated his willingness to accept Rohingya refugees fleeing war and persecution in Myanmar. The Rohingya, often described as the world's most persecuted minority, are an ethnic group, majority of whom are Muslim who have lived for centuries in Myanmar. Currently, there are about 1.1 million Rohingyas in the Southeast Asian country. And Lorenzana said, averting a humanitarian crisis is front and foremost. Furthermore, I don't think he said the Rohingyas will reciprocate our kindness with bad behavior. The Philippines' open-door policy to refugees can be traced back to 1923 when the country took in the first wave of white Russians fleeing from the Socialist Revolution, according to the UN High Commissioner for Refugees, or UNHCR. The country also admitted Jewish refugees in 1934, Spanish Republicans in 1939, Chinese refugees in 1940, white Russians in 1949, Vietnamese boat people in 1975, Iranian refugees in 1979, Indo-Chinese refugees in 1980, and East Timor refugees in 2000. Representatives of the Indonesian government and the ASEAN Secretariat signed the agreement between the government of Indonesia and ASEAN on the implementation of the grant for the repatriation of displaced persons to Myanmar. Take a look. The grant, worth approximately $500,000 will be utilized to provide financial support to the establishment of an ad hoc support team of the ASEAN Secretariat to assist the Myanmar government in implementing the recommendations of the preliminary needs assessment. Foreign Minister Retno Marsudi said the grant was an implementation of the government's commitment to provide assistance in solving Rohingya refugee crisis expressed by President Joko Widodo during the ASEAN summit in Bangkok last month. The Indonesian government wants that the repatriation be conducted voluntarily, safely, and in dignity, Retno said. In support of the repatriation, Ms. Retno said ASEAN members need to increase capacity in reception centers and transit areas, disseminate information to build confidence among the displaced people in Cox's Bazar, a city in Bangladesh where many Rohingya refugees have fled to, and provide basic services including education, healthcare, and clean water. The Indonesian government has earlier completed the construction of a hospital in Maruk-U district, Rakhine State, and handed it over to the Myanmar government. The hospital construction involved local people from various ethnic and religious backgrounds. And ASEAN in Focus will be right back.
When visiting the Philippines, Manila or Quezon City is a popular destination. But oftentimes the hustle and bustle of the city can be more stressful on your vacation. So when you feel the need to reconnect to nature or relax again, there's a beautiful oasis just outside of the city called the Garden at Ciudad de Victoria. That you can see here include hydrangea, snapdragon, and stargazers. They're truly beautiful. The gardens at Ciudad de Victoria are so peaceful, tranquil, and beautiful that it's become a haven for young couples and a very popular venue for engagement photos. The next time you want an escape from the big city, the garden at Ciudad de Victoria is a wonderful place to visit.
At the 28th ACCSQ Pharmaceutical Product Working Group or PPWG meeting and its related meetings, ASEAN member states agreed to endorse the listing of the Philippines Food and Drug Administration under the ASEAN Mutual Recognition Arrangement or MRA on Good Manufacturing Practices or GMP. The 5-day event was held from December 16 at the ASEAN Secretariat. The listing of the Philippines FDA will be an addition to the current listed inspection services under the ASEAN MRA on GMP, which includes the Singapore Health and Sciences Authority, Malaysia National Pharmaceutical Regulatory Authority, Indonesia National Agency of Drug and Food Control, and Thailand Food and Drug Administration. The GMP certificate is a mandatory requirement for registration of medicinal product in each ASEAN member states. Foreign ministers at an Asian-European Political Dialogue, or ASEM, have emphasized the need to uphold and revitalize multilateralism. The ministers also support continued efforts towards enhancing partnership on climate change, free trade, especially economic integration, and a rules-based international order. Now, the points were made at the 14th Asia-Europe meeting, or ASEM, Foreign Ministers meeting in Madrid, Spain. Let's listen in.
Yet, there are important differences around the same table. Not all of us agree on everything. There are differences among us. We don't have to hide them. By the contrary, let's have an open and mature dialogue to see how we can come closer together and demonstrate that this group cares about rules-based multilateralism, effective multilateralism, not just rhetorically asked for, and is keen to work together on global challenges. This is our purpose, and I thank to all of you for being here in this magnificent historic place at the heart of Spain. And now let me give the floor, with your permission, Your Majesty, to the Minister for Foreign Affairs of Singapore and ASEAN Coordinator, Dr. Vivian Balakrishna.
Our proposed theme for the next year's summit will be strengthening multilateralism for shared growth. It's a logical continuation of the current foreign ministers meeting today. And it reflects the common aspiration and commitment of all ASEAN partners to build a strong, vibrant, and comprehensive Asia-Europe partnership, and to ensure that multilateralism can bring about global growth that is not only sustainable but can also be shared.
ASEAN has grown by leaps and bounds in the last 23 years. Started off with around 26 members, we're now at 53, and as you have just outlined just now, more than 60% of the global population, of trade, and of GDP is accounted for by Asia and by Europe. I would also make the point that now, even more than before, the raison d'etre of ASEAN is even more salient. This is a time of great change, a time when there's a pushback against globalization, against free trade, against economic integration. There's a profound anxiety in the middle class of many societies all over the world. And we need to double down on free trade, on integration, on investments, on economic interdependence. And the fact that the EU, and I speak now on behalf of my Asian colleagues, have been able to make a statement and to converge our minds on the cause of free trade is worth highlighting. Asia has been the locus of tremendous economic growth. And if you look within Southeast Asia alone, we have 640 million people, the majority of whom are below the age of 35. There's a demographic and technological dividend waiting to be harvested. And my point is that as a long-time partner, the EU is welcome to participate in this growth story. So the fact that we were able to have an excellent meeting, frank, candid exchange of minds, and that we reaffirmed our belief in free trade, on cooperating on issues like cybersecurity, climate change. All this augurs well for the future.
ASEAN was jointly conceived in 1996 by Singapore's then Prime Minister Goh Chok Tong and then French President Jacques Chirac. It has 53 partners across Asia and Europe.
Historic place.
Every December 10, we observe the International Human Rights Day. AICHR is ASEAN's human rights body that amplifies the voice and concerns of the ASEAN youth regarding human rights issues. On September 20, AICHR held its annual youth debate, which aims to provide the youth a platform to express their views and interact with human rights experts within the ASEAN region. Let's listen in.
Youth debate has been one of the activities of AICHR, which has been organized by AICHR representatives in other countries. For example, the Philippines, Singapore, Malaysia, Cambodia, and this year in Thailand. Next year, Cambodia will host again. I would like to welcome all of you again, and we are looking forward to a very fruitful event. And please, those of you from abroad, enjoy Bangkok. Thank you.
The United States government, through the ASEAN USAID Prospect activity, is proud to continue our partnership with ASEAN to support these debates, including those held here in Bangkok back in 2017 at ASEAN's 50th anniversary. This year's theme, Advancing Partnership for Sustainability, is the theme of Thailand's chairmanship, and we think it captures the aspirations of ASEAN's people-centered, people-oriented approach.
Human rights violation is an issue that we all have to be concerned. Over the past few years, I think we have made tremendous leap towards protecting human rights. However, we need to do more. We need to bring more awareness to the table. We need to spread out information about why we need to have protection on human rights.
I actually appreciate mostly the friends that I gained along the way here, because what this event made was that it was able to bring together a lot of people with very similar interests.
So this experience definitely increased my awareness of human rights in ASEAN through all the different panel discussions and even the small debate teams that we were split into. You just get to interact over all these different motions and think about how all these motions are relevant for different communities in Southeast Asia. And talking to the different people from different walks of life in ASEAN, you really get a sense of how human rights issues affect the individual day-to-day in ASEAN.
I think that the youth really are the future of the ASEAN region. We are an emerging market. There are new opportunities growing for us every day. The human rights debates showed me that there were many problems that we're facing, but through the help of our governments and the previous generation, we're able to unlock potential within ourselves and within our communities to form a greater regional cooperation.
First of all, the experience that I got regarding human rights is something that is very valuable. Human rights has always been a topic I'm interested in, and then coming here I got to listen to experts during the panel discussion, and it is also a platform that gathers youth from ASEAN to discuss on the matter of human rights.
We would like our young people to see how the next generation, how their university peers have performed, and the issues that connect ASEAN. This year is the main theme, sustainability. Thailand is hosting ASEAN this year. We chair ASEAN, so it is critical and it is strategic that we host this year's event here in Bangkok as well. We would like to see this event being institutionalized among ASEAN member states. So we would like to see ASEAN member states rotate the hosting of this event as well, so that our youth become a stronger network and they become the backbone of ASEAN, the very key asset of our people-centered community.
And that is the latest news in the Southeast Asian nations. Stay updated about the ASEAN region. I'm Alma Angeles, always one with 25.